Let's say we got an HVAC company, okay? Been around forever, decades. Small held company, owner plus maybe a couple of employees. Been doing it but he's been doing it his whole life. Um, Knows the stuff like the back of his hand. His business is commercial and residential. All right. So he believe how commercial though, he's got like a handful of just really, really big clients. It's not volume commercial, right? It's like, let's say it's like the zoo and, the biggest park in town and things like that, right? So big commercial clients. Um, so not a tiny, maybe tiny in size, but not tiny in revenue. Um, he thinks his business is worth nothing. So his plan, let's say, is to essentially give the residential side of the business to a closely held employee and let the rest of it go. What would you tell him as far as, obviously you don't have numbers, so you can't value it, but what would you tell him about things that you would be interested in finding to figure out what value is there? Or do you agree with his plan? Do you think he's right? His business is worth pretty much nothing, so he should just walk away.
Well, I don't think you can ever determine if the business is worth nothing until you've had it valued by somebody. But I do hear that some from time to time where people don't realize that their business may have value and they decide to shut it down. In terms of what I would ask for, um, you know, the same types of things that we've been talking about. Obviously the financial statements, understanding what the profitability of the business looks like, and things like HVAC. A lot of the revenue mix is um, can determine value of the business. For example, on the residential side, do they have recurring revenue? Do they have maintenance contracts? Um, what percentage of the business is residential versus commercial? How much service? Just basically analyzing it and then determining from there, what the best course of action is. Sometimes it is to sell it to an employee. I wouldn't necessarily say give it to an employee, but even if you couldn't get traditional bank financing, for, say it had issues, you could always, if you trusted the employee, work out a deal where you held a note for them and they paid you over time or something like that. But try to get some value for it. Um, Also, I think that understand what the employee base looks like, where the risks are, the same things that we would do in evaluation, because there's going to be a discount because you're not taking it out to market. You're going to sell it to an employee, for example. But if it does have marketability, you should know that, right? And if you can, if let's say that it is in a position where you could get bank financing on it, well, then you can work with your employee, go to work with an SBA lender, and you could probably get most of your money up front with an
Mm.
SBA loan and not have to hold a large loan or, give it away. So I think that just understanding what your options are and working with someone who can advise you is important. Um, does that answer your question?